Hi. So, last week I tweeted asking you guys whether I should review anything for Halloween. You guys responded, and originally I was planning to review a specific horror film. But then an idea for a video came into my head that I just simply couldn't ignore. As someone who isn't a massive fan of the genre but is slowly adapting to it, I constantly ask myself the following question. What is the point of horror? I know a fair bit about the genre, but am a mere novice when it comes to watching the films. Which is why I've decided to make this video, an unfiltered ramble of me trying to answer that very question. With a cup of tea in hand, of course. Oh, fuck me, that's hot. Now, on the surface, I totally understand the point of horror. It sets off that spark of both terror and adrenaline that you sometimes need to just get out of your system. But that doesn't apply to every horror fan, as I suppose it depends on what specific type of horror film they're into. Some may love the bursts of energy you get from jump scares found in movies like Paranormal Activity. Others might just get a kick out of watching people being gruesomely dismembered in films like Hostel, or The Green Inferno, or basically anything that has Eli Roth's name on it. Everyone has their own preference of horror, or any genre for a matter of fact. Personally, I gravitate towards horror films that have more of an emphasis on psychological or claustrophobic thriller side of things. This is why I would happily watch Don't Breathe, Cube or 10 Cloverfield Lane over something like Hostel or Paranormal Activity. And it is this reason why the point of horror is different for everyone. I am also aware that horror is nothing new. Hell, it's probably been going longer than most of today's popular genres. I am of course referring to your Draculas, your Frankensteins, and folklore myths and tales. These probably had the same effect on people back then as going to see a horror film does today. However, as years have gone by, the idea of horror as a genre has grown and developed, like any genre would. But the thing that makes horror different to any other genre today is just how wide it has spread its net. There are arguably more subgenres of horror than any other genre, well, ever. There's horror comedies, there's gothic horror movies, there's found footage horror movies, there's action horror, there's holiday or seasonal horror films, there's sci-fi horror, body horror, natural horror, slasher movies. The list seems almost endless. So taking that into account, I ask this. With so many subgenres, has the original meaning / concept of horror been lost? You could argue no, because the one thing that connects all of these movies in the first place is that they are trying to scare you. The method in doing so alters between each subgenre, which is true. However, you could also argue that it has, in some form, lost its original meaning and or concept, as films like Scream, Scary Movie and The Cabin in the Woods have proved that there's a lot in the horror genre to take the piss out of. This leads into what I mentioned earlier about people sticking to a specific preference when it comes to horror. Some people watch nothing but one type of horror subgenre, whereas others, like myself, are open to trying all kinds of variants of the genre. And it's whichever one of these stances you have on said genre that fuels your own perspective on why horror exists and what the actual point of it is. For me, the point of horror all comes down to intrigue, suspense and memorability. For example, I find horror more fascinating than a lot of other genres. I love the tension and suspense that certain directors are able to pull from such simple concepts, and the more memorable I find the movie, the more likely I am to enjoy it both from memory and from subsequent rewatches. I may not have seen that many horror films, but something tells me my journey further into the genre is going to be an interesting one for sure. Or on the other hand, I might not want to have the shit scared out of me just yet, so I'm gonna go and watch Emperor's New Groove for like the billionth time. I hope you enjoyed this video. I thought it would be interesting to kind of break up the review cycle with something a bit different for Halloween. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then give it a thumbs up. Comment below if you want to see more stuff like this, or even put in your own opinion on what is the point of horror. I didn't really have a point to prove with this video, and it wasn't really structured or anything like that. It's not a video essay per se. It's just me literally just spouting off the top of my head what I think the point of horror is. I'm not right, I'm not wrong, I'm just giving my personal opinion. Which is why I don't want to cause any hate for any horror fans out there. If I've offended horror fans, then I apologise, that was not the intention. I just wanted to get my own personal opinion out there. Like I said at the start, this is just a unfiltered ramble on what I think horror is and what I think the point of it is. There was no exact key point for this video, it's just something that I wanted to kind of get out of my head. So, if you enjoyed the video, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.